we can wing it.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to ask you guys about your education and how you became teachers. So right now, I am in the grad program at Shawnee. I don't have a background in education. I have my bachelor's in sport management, and I ended up here through coaching. I found out that this is something I'd be good at through coaching. You guys always wanted me to be a teacher, right?
Right. I always wanted you to be a teacher.
But I never thought I would be.
Right.
Until I started coaching and I started hosting these sports tournaments, and I was around a lot of kids and realized I had that touch.
Ability.
So right now, I am getting my Master of Education from Shawnee. Can you guys both tell me how you guys went about it? Like, what did you do in college? Who wants to go first? Who you want first?
Well,
go for it.
okay, I graduated from high school in '52. I graduated from Portsmouth High School. And at that time, I was in the Naval Reserve. Now, Korea was going on. The war started in '50 and it went to like '52 or '53. But anyway, I was in the Naval Reserves over in Portsmouth.
Mm-hmm.
And we would sit in classes. Well, in the classes, sometimes we would take turns teaching the others. In other words, you had to get up in front and you would study, and then the next week when you went there, you kind of taught the class.
Yeah.
Well, in my family, we had my aunts Esther and Martha, and they were teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And we had on mom's side, on my mom's side, she had her brothers,
Mm-hmm.
Ade and Bob. They were teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And she also had a sister, Reba. So basically, the whole family was in the teaching field. So I was in the Navy Reserve, and I would get up and I would study and I would kind of teach. You took turns teaching. And so I was in the Naval Reserve, and they had the Korea War had ended, and World War II, the veterans coming back from World War II, the government gave them education.
Mm-hmm.
They got the veterans, in other words, the veterans got to go back to college.
Yeah.
Well, Portsmouth High School opened their high school building up at night for night college for the veterans that were coming back. And I was in the reserve, so I got to go, and I was also in those classes. Barb was in those classes. And so it was mainly on teaching education. That's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
So I got interested in it, and with all the people in there, everybody in the family were teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So I got interested, and I took teaching, and I got we went to Ohio University. After I graduated in '52, we went up to Ohio University.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they mainly taught along teaching, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you could take different classes, but we were in the education field because of the influence.
Mm.
So we learned and got a degree in 1960 from Ohio University, a Bachelor's of Education.
Mm.
So when we came back, I started teaching at here in West, wasn't it? Down here at the high school.
Mm-hmm.
I taught down here at West High School in the junior high.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Well, you're getting a little ahead. I was going to ask you about that later.
Then I had a chance,
You can ask him.
but I really started out, I had enough teaching
Yeah.
and I had a teaching degree,
Mm.
that I started my first year in friendship.
Mm.
I taught 8th grade math in friendship.
Mm.
And Junior Anderson was the principal there.
Mm.
He was doing the student teaching
And
at that time.
I was doing student teaching. You had on student teaching, a teacher kind of took you under the wing. You
Mhm.
were a student of a regular teacher.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it still is.
Junior Anderson was my mentor. In other words, he was the one that I was under learning, but I also was in the classroom teaching.
Mhm.
And then eventually I came up to West High School.
Mhm.
At that time, I taught science. No, I taught math. I was in the 8th grade, and there were 4 teachers.
Hmm.
One taught English. Foster Kirker taught social studies. Kenny Rapp taught science, and I taught math. And that was the 8th grade. So I got to teach at West High School in the 8th grade. I was the math teacher for several years.
Mhm.
Well, in time, I was working on my master's degree.
Mhm.
So I had a chance to get in to the Portsmouth School because their salaries were a little bit higher.
Chasing the money, right?
Yeah, I was
That's
chasing
right.
the money. So
You
I
were.
started out and I taught at Wilson School there on Camel Avenue.
Mhm.
And the principal there was Walt Burns. And he had influence because I had been in the Navy Reserve
Mhm.
and Walt had been in World War II
Mhm.
in the Navy. So I taught there for a while.
Mhm.
Well, then they decided to move me up to Highland School, which is there by Mountain Park.
Okay.
And I rotated between Highland School with Claire Whitworth and Garfield School with Pat
Mitchell.
Mitchell. Pat Mitchell was also an ex-Navy man.
Yeah.
But the reason for that was I would go half a day at Highland School, and that freed Claire Whitworth out of the classroom, and she was the principal.
Mhm.
So it was not a full-time principal, it was a half a day.
Yeah.
So I was a half a day at Highland School, then in the morning,
Yeah.
then in the afternoon I went to Garfield, and that freed Pat Mitchell. So I was teaching at Highland and Garfield half days to free the principals.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I did that for a long time, wasn't it?
And then we decided to go to Cincinnati.
Then I decided, well, I'm going to Cincinnati.
You're just you by yourself?
No,
No, Barb went.
we went to Cincinnati. at
We
that
went to
time.
Cincinnati, and basically, one of the things was Jack, Barb's brother, and Dolores. Jack decided to go to Deer Park to Cincinnati to teach
Well, he got a job at Deer Park.
at Deer Park, and Barb and they needed somebody to babysit the kids, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I had a job at Mount Healthy
Yeah. So
Mount
she.
Healthy?
Yeah, Mount Healthy was.
in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But did you teach there?
No,
No. What were you? in?
Delora, I went and we decided I'd stay home with the kids and Dolores and Jack would teach.
Yeah.
And you,
And I went to Green Hills. I taught at Green Hills.
uh-huh.
Okay, we were there for 1 year.
and I babysat the kids.
She babysat
Karen, Shavonna, Davy,
and Jack
and I
taught
was
at
expecting Donnie.
Jack taught at the Deer Park and
Dolores was at Deer Park.
at
Deer Park.
yeah, and I was up to Green Hills, Forest Park. We lived at Mount Healthy, and that was the year that we were sitting on in the front room watching TV, and we saw
On the TV.
they
We-
brought down
Kennedy.
well
They
well Kennedy had been assassinated, and they brought down who was the guy that did it.
Was that
Anyway,
it wasn't Jack Ruby. It was
well
why can't I remember this right now?
Okay.
I know this.
okay.
Okay, I get what you're saying though. Yeah.
Anyway, we were watching,
Yeah.
and they were going to bring him down.
Oh, Lee
Remington.
Harvey Oswald.
Lee Harvey, and they were going to bring him down
I'll fact check
and
this later.
transfer him or transport him to a stronger jail cell and try him because he had killed the president.
And that's where Jack Ruby got him, right?
Yeah. Now here's the thing, and Barb will
Yeah.
vouch this. As we sat there,
Uh huh.
I told Barb the security was not right.
Yeah.
Did I not?
Mm-hmm.
I said, somebody will kill him before he leaves that police
And I
station.
said that
Okay.
can't happen.
And no more she said that out of her mouth,
And
to
it happened.
bang,
Yeah.
he was dead.
Yeah. Okay. I want to go back. I want to keep it on track before we're talking about
Okay.
about your education.
So
Yeah.
Okay, he wants.
I was
She
gonna
wants
say,
to get my.
She.
He wants to get my.
It's okay. It's not the first time.
but here's the thing.
Okay.
After that year,
Yeah.
we decided to come back to Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when we came back to Portsmouth,
Mm.
I got a job
At Clay.
at Clay.
Mhm.
And I was at Clay in the 8th grade.
Yeah.
And I taught 8th grade in the Clay High School there on 23.
Mm.
But then I had a chance to go, and but by that time I had a degree in principal.
Yeah.
So I moved over to
Rubyville.
Rubyville, and Rubyville had grades 4, 5, and 6, and I taught a 6th grade, but I also was a building principal.
Okay. So you were a
And,
teacher and principal.
Yeah, I was a
That was-
teaching principal.
Okay. I don't know if that is still a thing anymore.
They don't do
And-
that
I don't
anymore.
think so.
That's
Maybe
that's
somewhere.
where I retired from.
Okay. So you were there for a long time.
I was there. Yeah,
How many years?
About 25.
I'm about 25.
Okay.
About 25 years.
All right. Your turn. I was going to ask you.
Education.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you both about your college experience, and then ask you about how you got into it, and then like where you taught and everything. But I'm just going to let you talk. Just like tell me
Well,
about.
I'll tell
Well,
you.
you
have-
want to talk for her?
I had 3 degrees.
Yeah.
We both went to Ohio U,
Yeah.
and in 1960 we both graduated
Yeah.
with Bachelor of Education,
Yeah.
elementary education. Then I went on and I got a master's degree
Yeah.
in administration.
Mhm.
I felt someday maybe I would become a principal.
Yeah.
And I have also an associate degree. Now, how
Yeah.
I got the associate degree was I was in the Navy,
Yeah.
in the reserve and everything, and they had an education program for the guys coming back from World War
Yeah.
II,
Yeah.
and I got a free.
Yeah, that's-
I got a free
Okay.
ride, and I had a bachelor of
A
elementary education, a master's degree in administration, and an associate degree.
Okay. Now, how did you end up in
in-
education? Like, what made you want to go? Okay, so what made you want to go into
I
it?
graduated from high school in 1953. I graduated from Washington Local High School.
Washington.
Yeah,
Washington.
that was the name of it, Washington Local.
Washington.
And that was in 1953, and then I went to work at the telephone company.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you told me
I
that.
worked
You
at
were a
the phone-
telemarketer.
at the phone company for a year,
Uh,
and I thought and then I was going to school at night too. I enrolled at OU
Mm.
because they were giving classes,
mm.
so I enrolled in
And that's where you met this guy.
at OU.
Yeah.
And
And
That was
so
night
I
college.
took up education. I took all education classes.
did you think you were going to do this when you were in high school, or is it just something you kind
I
of?
know. I thought I'd never teach school. I did not.
So
wanna
you were
teach-
just like me.
I did not want to teach school.
See, I never thought I would either, but you know.
But then after I
Right.
worked at the phone company, I decided I wanted to go to school and be a teacher.
Mm.
So I started out and got my degree, and
Where
I
did-
ended up teaching.
how did you get your license?
How did I
What was
get?
the process to get your license?
I had to. I was on a cadet scholarship, and I was able to teach on that.
Mm.
And
And
I
that-
got my professional certificate to teach.
Mhm.
Then you had to take classes. I took classes at the college,
Mhm.
and you build up to get your. I had 2 years, and then I got 3 years. After I got 3 years, then I had to keep going and took night
Mhm.
classes. And I did go to OU for one summer. I had to go up.
In Athens? Okay.
And I stayed up there 1 year
So you
and
guys-
did the summer. That's where I took swimming class.
I did not know about that.
I took.
That's why you're such a good swimmer. There.
That's when Davey was a baby, and I took him
And
in a
that's
stroller over
that's
to
the
the
year.
natatorium, and we watched Mama swim.
Oh, okay.
we
That's-
did.
So where did you end up teaching for? Okay. Well,
I taught at.
briefly how.
I started teaching at Nauvoo in the high school in the basement. I had 5th grade.
They stuck you in the basement.
Yep.
I think I would too.
Classroom.
We had our classrooms in the basement,
Yeah.
and I was there 2 years, and I was going with your dad, and we decided to get
My
married.
who?
Your grandfather.
Great.
And we got married, and I went to Norfolk with him. So while I was there, I got a job teaching 5th grade at the Norfolk Bayview School, and I taught there 1 year.
I didn't know you taught in Virginia.
I did at Norfolk,
I
Virginia,
had no idea.
and I was there 1 year. And before they'd give me the job, I had to tell them I'd stay the whole year.
Mhm.
They didn't want to hire people that, come and go.
You didn't tell them you were going to leave after that year, though, did you?
Well, see,
Well, you didn't have to
the
tell.
wife,
Yeah.
the guys were in service, and when their career
Their ship-
ended and they would leave, so would the wife, and there was a,
A vacancy in the school.
so you had to stay.
So where else did you teach?
And I taught there. And then we came back to, after that, we came back to, back home
To
and
Portsmouth?
got a job at
Jenkins.
Jenkins Elementary. And I
She taught
couldn't,
31 years total.
and I could not get my old job back, my 5th grade, because somebody had filled it while I was gone. So I had to take the 1st or the 3rd grade.
Mhm.
So Mom talked me into taking the 1st grade. I thought I'd take the 3rd grade, but Mom kept saying, you want to start them in 1st grade.
Yeah.
So I did start, and I was there Well, no, when I first come back, I taught fifth grade a couple of years
Mm.
at Jenkins, and then I went in the first grade.
Okay.
And after that, I stayed there about 20 years in first grade, and I taught 31 years altogether,
Okay.
when you add all my years together.
All right.
So,
31 years.
so I have 20 years in the Navy.
And 34
And I'll
years teaching.
retire.
Am I right? No, I'm wrong.
31 years teaching.
31 years teaching, and we just celebrated this last June 63 years of marriage. I'm 86
6, and I'm
and
85.
she's 85.
So how long did you guys? What years did you retire, and how much
He,
experience did you have?
he,
Like how many years?
he retired with 31 years.
And what year?
What year did you retire? I retired
91, 92? It was right before I was born.
Yeah, 90, I was 91, I think 92. You retired in,
I retired a year ahead, wasn't it?
So
I
91.
retired a year ahead.
and then I retired in 92, I think, 91.
Okay, so you guys taught for a long time.
hmm
All right, that's really all I wanted to get.
I
just
had
wanted to get.
31 years and he
Huh.
did too.
I just wanted to get a little background, just so I know what you guys did. That's all I wanted to ask you. So I'm gonna go ahead and.
So I graduated in 52 from high school.
And he
she
can tell
graduated
you
in
all these
53.
funny stories that they used to sit up to Wellston and tell, and we laughed all
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to get an idea of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and cap it at that.
Okay,
And
that's good.
thanks for telling me.
I
everything.
told you about the big
You're-
snowstorm, didn't I?
You're welcome. It was a pleasure to